how much do data science make? You said that you worked over 60 hours each week. How do you do that? How do people break into data science? So we are on MIT's campus right now for video part 2 for our audience, asking the burning questions. I'm here with Aisha. You said that you come from an immigrant background. And I think so many people in the comments were asking where you're from, where do you live now? Are you in the US? Are you international? Can you tell us a little bit about your background and maybe where you're from and your family's from?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Turkey. My parents are teachers, both of them, and they were very passionate about education. So especially educating young girls in underprivileged areas of Turkey. So growing up, I did a lot of traveling. We lived in very rural, distant, poor villages. So that was my backdrop as I was, my humble beginnings as I was getting my education, starting my life. Fast forward, right now I'm living in Boston. I am working for this startup called Slim.ai. And I've been here for a while right now. I came to the United States back in 2004, and the rest is history.
So the first time that we had our interview was in Austin, and you were traveling in Austin for a conference. And you speak everywhere. You told me all these random states, countries, and you're traveling. You have a huge conference coming up. So how did you get into these speaking engagements, and how do you prepare to walk up to a stage confidently and just crush that speaking engagement?
For me, it's about the things that I'm passionate about, and I want the world to be aware of those things, especially in data science, when you are dealing with, grappling with a lot of data, seeing trends, patterns, and there's a story that starts to coming out. You can't help yourself. You want to share it with the world. You want to change people's beliefs about certain things. And again, that comes to the decision science, the decision intelligence that we were talking about. So you see something and you realize that it can impact your belief system, it can change how your executive team behaves, and it can actually be important for the industry. And not sharing that would be the bad thing, the self-esteem piece. My grandma used to say that self-esteem is about building a reputation with yourself. It's about building credibility with yourself. So for me, it's one very good way of doing that is by putting in consistent, long, hard work into whatever job, whatever task is at hand.
And I think there's so many biases out there. There's also so many myths, especially in the comments. People were saying, are data scientists actual scientists? Can you break down, I guess, that first question? And then also just what are the other myths that we can debunk in data science?
One of my professors here at MIT used to say, if a field has science in its name, it's not true science. Think neuroscience, decision science, computer science, data science, right? You were talking about debunking myths. I think every one of us are data analysts. We are all literate in data, especially in this day and age. That doesn't mean that we are all equally good at it, right? There are levels of expertise and rigor to it, but we bring that innate art of exploration. And if that meets a discipline of excellence, you can make a big delta in data science.
The $1 million question that was also asked in the comments is, how much do data science make?
At Slim.ai, for example, we look at Carta, and there are other tools that are similar where you throw in these parameters into the modeling tool. You can look into the job title, the location, the experience level of the candidate. If it's a startup, you can look into the valuation of the company, and it will give you a box plot distribution of where the median salary is, as well as the upper and lower quartiles and even the outliers. So for an entry-level data science position in Boston, for example, it can give you a number that's close to a six-figure number. But then again, it is a combination of the equity. So a startup, you want that ownership, and there is the salary itself. And as you climb up the ladder, if you will, as you add more to your skill set, your experience, things go. Things move up from there.
How do people break into data science, and what are some best interview preparation tools or resources that you found super valuable?
So my path into data science wasn't planned step by step. So I don't want to pretend that I wanted to be this from the get-go. I am an engineer by training. I always loved numbers and critical thinking. But I also loved philosophy and articulation and poetry and literature. So thinking about being a value, if you're in college, right? Creating well-designed feedback loops in your learning journey is very important. What I mean with that is you need to overcome that fear of failure. So in some jobs, this is really easy. If you're a wrestler, like my cousin, right? We keep saying that the mat is honest. If you do not put in the right training, you will see that it's not working. You will fail. And you will fail fast, and you will fail better in time. If you are a surgeon, like my brother and sister who are physicians, you can think of the operating table as being very honest, right? If you're a carpenter and building furniture, if it keeps breaking, you can start thinking of how that can be very honest. So in data science, how do you do that? How do you build those feedback loops? I keep saying that doing is the best, if not the only teacher. Go in and break things. Go into hackathons. Create these pet projects. It's not just about consuming online courses and books and all these resources, but going into communities, asking questions, just trying things out, I think is the best way to see if you're even interested in the area.
You said that you worked over 60 hours each week, and you don't have bags under your eyes, and you look this good while working, 60 plus hours. So how do you do that? And what is a typical week in the life? And do you love those hours? Is it grueling hours? Tell me about those hours.
So 60 hours per week, and I said at least, and I know that people were reacting to it. I think what they are really reacting to it might be the stress that they associate that might be happening in those 60 hours. And I can appreciate that. In a very hard, toxic environment, it might be hard to do 5 hours a week, honestly. But I like putting those hours, and I find a lot of joy and meaning in it.
And where does the meaning come from with data science? I mean, I haven't met a ton of people who are super passionate about data science. Maybe I just haven't met that many data scientists, but where does the meaning lie for you?
It's not about numbers. It's about the thing that you're doing with it. So basically, data science, what is data science, right? What do we do in the profession? To me, it's all about making data useful. And expanding the senses of your executive team, becoming their eyes and ears, right? Helping them navigating the stormy waters on a day-to-day basis. That's what data science is to me. And from that, I get to derive a lot of meaning, because I know that I'm making a difference in the day-to-day of my executive team and my entire company.
And I think having purpose in any career is where it feels less like work and more like what you want to do, and the hours are basically irrelevant, especially when it's a non-toxic work environment. You actually look forward to going to work. So can you break down what 60 hours per week actually looks like?
So the typical day, I am a person who loves to build habits. That's in my upbringing as well. I love waking up early in the morning. I usually do again, without any thinking, I wake up and I do 15 minutes of high intensity interval training. And it has been like this for years right now.
Right when you come out of
Yes.
right when you come out of bed.
I don't even think about it.
Okay.
I have everything, my gear, everything in the house. And then right after that, I have a cold shower. Again, I'm doing that for at least 6-7 years right now. So that's 3 minutes cold shower, as much as I can endure. And after that, I hit the road. I do my run. I run 5 miles every day. And I sometimes break that into 2, but usually I try to do that early in the morning before 7:30 a.m. And I do 2 long runs, usually during the weekend. So it's not 5 miles, but I try to bring it up to 10, 15 if I can. So that's my morning routine. After 7:30, because you're asking me about the
This is all before 7:30. Okay.
I checked the box in my. So here's the thing: my family are half geeks, hyper intellectuals, like high octane brains. I think the rest are professional athletes, and the commonality, I think, the intersection between them is that there is a lot of glorifying of pain. So putting the hours, a lot of my professional athletes, like cousins, etc., they go through pain and injuries and they do not miss a single training. And I saw that growing up, and that has been part of my life. I'm the geek side, obviously. My best thinking happens outdoors. I think these borders are very fuzzy, especially if I'm planning the day, if I'm thinking about the next big project. Right now, for example, I have a couple different projects that I'm leading, and I need to make sure that everything is done in parallel properly so that we meet our goals, right? So I start thinking about the day during those hours, that they are not separate from my day. And it's not just about work, obviously. I love listening to books, podcasts during those runs. And then, fast forward, about 7:30 to 10:30 happens my no distraction, deep thinking zone. And I'm a big follower of Cal Newport. He's a computer scientist. I believe he's at Cornell right now. He has a book on deep work. I'd love that. And I do those 3 hours. Generally, no meetings whatsoever. I try to get away from those. But then the rest of the day starts, the management tasks and the tactical, the important stuff. But it's not my no distraction zone. I try to wrap up around 6:30. But then I also want my late night 2-3 hours every day too. And those are really the more silent hours where I can do even more deep thinking. Because in the morning, I'm all about the tactical. But at night, I can go more philosophical, more deep. And that also helps me to do the mid to long range, more strategic planning for the day.
So everybody talks about breaking into these competitive industries like data science. But you mentioned it's not just breaking in, it's actually elevating to that next level, that next title, that next role and responsibility. So how do people do that?
Yeah, I think embracing failure, that point that we talked about, is really important. You start with the basic skills, but the job at hand, the task at hand will force you to the next level.
Getting to this interview in Boston has been a wild adventure. Check out our video part 1, linked in the video notes below.